is a sensation, and then there is the psychological, the power aspect of it, right? The power aspect of receiving a spanking, of the other one giving a spanking, can be a huge turn on to the passive partner, the recipient, because it feels, first of all, it's an erogenous zone, it feels enjoyable, and secondly, it is submissive, so there's a lot of power exchange going on. It usually turns the bottom on, if the bottom meaning the submissive, the passive partner,
right.
because now the top, the active partner administering it can turn him or her on a lot too, because he or she thinks, if they're into it, sees the reaction of the partner getting very turned on, and perhaps the partner has a nice bottom, and that could be fun,
right.
And feeling the power rush of being a top.
Right. So the couples or the people that you see as in your work, okay, what are the results what are they coming to you for, and how do you help them specifically, or what do you help them work through for the most part? I know you mentioned a lot of it was guilt before, but are there other aspects to it, or what are people asking you for in general when it comes to this?
Most clients I work with are individuals that may be coupled with someone who doesn't know about this. The happy couples don't need to come see me because they are fine. Those are the people that I make films about. They don't need my services. It's not what people think it is. It's not as extreme as what they think it is. It is everywhere, and that most people could benefit from looking into themselves and their partners and see, is there something that we might do or want to do?
Yes, by opening it up and making it mainstream, people can say, hey, maybe I can explore this, and it isn't such a taboo or something they feel guilty about, or any other negative feelings about it.
Right. Some of my clients and others in conferences and so on are worried that they would enter the slippery slope type situation. Meaning? You know, I have fantasies now about being spanked, but would that mean that in a year I want to be flogged, and in 2 years I want to be beaten with a single tail whip, and until blood comes out of me? And in my experience, that's not so. You know, people may have fantasies about stuff they don't really want to do, like getting beaten with a single tail whip, until but in reality they don't really want that.
Exactly.
And people usually, if they really find a partner and explore that, they find a medium where they enjoy, and then they go through phases in life. There may be kids, there may be parents, there may be situations, there may be breakups where it comes and goes and comes and goes, and a new partner, and then different things are being explored. So again, it depends on the individual and on the couple.
Right, exactly. So how does the aspect of danger play into it? When getting to more, not necessarily the more extreme portions of it, but like going into the internet, for instance, you really don't know what you're getting into in a lot of situations, and you can end up in some bad situations. So a person does have to be careful and they have to be grounded in a certain degree.
And sensible. You know, if you even if you just have a regular, people do a lot of personal ads looking for relationships, even if it has nothing to do with power play. You don't want to have your first blind date in somebody's house. You may want to meet in a cafe, right?
Right.
And so perceived danger can be very exciting, and some people are too much into danger that they can actually endanger themselves. It's not that frequent. Some people are like that. Some people enjoy bungee jumping. Some people enjoy playing Russian roulette. I don't think it's a good idea, playing with danger to that extent. But if you want to play with danger in power play, where the partner plays dangerous and he wears a scary outfit, but you know it's a partner who really loves you, then you can play with danger and you're safe.
Right. So, now getting right to that, what do you think are the compelling psychological reasons? Are there conflicts in a person, like let's say a woman, even though it's safe, let's say she wants to be raped by her husband, okay, and wants to have, you know, the man put his hand over his mouth, you know, while they have sex.
Right.
Right. Well, what are your opinions about that? You think that's a totally natural expression? It's definitely something that should be lived out without guilt. I'm in agreement with you on that.
Yeah.
But do you think there's some underlying conflict, or do you think that's just a natural force?
I think it's, well, we would need to look at the person, you know.
Right.
It could be, who knows, maybe there is something going on. But most likely there's not, because part of making love or sexual expression is about surrender. There's surrender in arousal, there's surrender in orgasm, there's surrender in a certain part of sexuality. There's also taking power in another part of sexuality. So the more aggressive part, the more active partner would be more, you know, there could be arousal in taking control also. But I think that having fantasies of being raped are very normal.
Yes,
a lot of people have them, male and females. And of course, nobody wants to really be raped, because that's not sex, that's violence,
I'm talking about
crime.
safe, within a safe context, right, exactly.
Right.
No one wants to be hurt.
No.
Right. Do you think in general, especially in the United States, in America, mainstream opinion, do you think that...
Oh, there is a lot of conceptions about that, a lot of perceptions, a lot of prejudice, where people say that there's so much wrong with these fantasies, that if you have a fantasy of wanting to be submissive to your boyfriend, you must have bad self-esteem. Or if a man wants to be the sex toy to his girlfriend, he must have bad self-esteem. There's all kinds of...
and that's what I'm
and especially, there's a two-way, there are two areas here. There's one, the submissives are always trashed. Bad self-esteem, you know.
Yes, exactly.
But the dominant side is also trashed. Predators.
Yes.
Dangerous people.
That's why I brought up that archetype earlier.
Yeah, the predator.
That's what exactly.
Yeah. There's a very conservative movement here, very religious right movement, that condemns any exploratory sexuality, including homosexuality, bisexuality, very rigid ideas of what sex ought to be, you know, one man, one woman, and marriage and kids, and that's it, you know. Right. And then there are, on the other hand, there is a lot more discussion about power play, and I can feel, I've worked with this for 20 years now, and I can see that the younger generation, the kids in the teenagers and their 20s now, tend, at least in San Francisco and New York, and I haven't spent much time in the middle of the country. Actually, I haven't spent any time in the middle of the country. Oh, I was in San Antonio, Texas once at a conference, That was a sexuality conference, and that's another story. But there is more discussion about it. Sexuality is not such a big deal, and so it goes both ways. I think there's a move towards the conservative, and there's a move towards opening it. What
is your attitude about, or what's your thinking about sex in general? Do you think it's...
I think that sexuality is a very powerful energy, a very beautiful energy, that when it needs to be taken good care of, I think it can also lead to great hurt and damage if not being taken good care of. And about that, in a partnership, any expression can be validated. And I think sexuality is important. For some people it's not so important, and that's okay too. I don't want to make anyone more interested in it when they are not. I think people come with different levels of sexual interests. If they are not interested in sexuality because they're afraid, then we can work on it. You know, if they're inhibited and timid and afraid of it, then that's another issue. If perhaps there's a hormonal piece in it, especially in women, we go through phases and through the months. through the ages, men too. There's more sex drive in some individuals than in others. So
right, and there's also the case where the actual guilt and the other negative feelings will suppress the sex drive, so you may not think you don't have a sex drive.
in which case I think it could be worked with and liberated, because
Right.
a healthy sex life is a good thing. People are much happier. People can't always find the perfect partner. Nobody has a perfect partner
Right.
usually, but a wonderful erotic life is an addition to
Yes.
life. I don't know anyone who has said the opposite to that. Most people who don't have a good erotic life but want one feel frustrated.
Yeah, exactly.
And erotic power play is just, it's really taking it a step further of feeling comfortable about sexuality, talking about sexuality, and then communicating and finding new ways to add to it.
Right. So, well, we live in the San Francisco Bay Area, so we're in a pretty fortunate position. I mean,
Thank goodness, yeah.
yes, we are. The whole liberation thing. And what are some of the resources? What are some of the places that people can check into around the Bay Area or look at? Is the, there's clubs or societies or organizations or anything?
There are quite a few. There is, if people have questions about sexuality, they can call the San Francisco Sex Information Hotline. That's the Swissy. I don't have the number in my head, but people can look that up. But if people are really interested in power play and want to experiment with it a little bit further, other than trying to find a partner either by sheer luck or searching on the web or in the papers.
Right.
There are organizations such as the Society of Janus. They are a good one. That's a good
here
one.
in San Francisco, isn't
Bay
it?
Area.
Yeah.
They're all over the Bay Area.
Right.
The Society of Janus, they have a lot of meetings in San Francisco, Berkeley, Sunnyvale, Concord, you name it, all
Right.
over the place.
And in the meetings, they actually have training for certain things, right?
They have munches.
Classes,
Munches is just where people get together socially, they hang out, they have a meal, they talk. People can be curious or people can be very into the power play. It doesn't matter. Nobody is being pushed. There's no exposure. Then they have workshops also, but that is more advanced for people who want to play, who want to learn about. A workshop would be called like using ropes safely, or resistance play,
Right.
playing with resistance, or things like that. And then they have parties where they get together and people play semi-publicly within that context of the community, where it's not entirely confidential, nobody has to sign release forms, but they feel somewhat protected that nobody would go out and say, guess what, this person, I saw him, taking off his clothes and he had a nipple pinched, or, there's a lot of respect.
Right. And how do people contact you? Do you have your own website, or do you?
I have a website. It is lifestyleeducation.net. Lifestyleeducation, one word, .net. There is email. There is a clip of an interview of me. There is excerpts, written excerpts from my films. There is something about the book I'm writing.
Well, it was great having you on, Gabriele.
My pleasure, Mark.
And you have been watching The Mark Hunter Show and Dr. Gabriele Hoff. Good night.